Keir Starmer and his cabal of metropolitan, city-dwelling, dinner-party-going, lovey elite have gone to war with farmers, and it's a war they'll lose. They chose to bite the hand that feeds Britain. The only problem for them is that this hand hits back.
So proud of being part of this community, but not just proud. Every single one of these farmers doesn't want to be here today. They want to be home, they want to be watching after their livestock, they want to be tending to their crops and being with their families. But what they have done, they've come here in solidarity to show how frustrated they are with this stupid inheritance tax and a lot of other things as well that are damaging British agriculture. We need to feed the nation in an affordable, seasonal, healthy way. And we've done that since day dot. London wouldn't be here without farmers, nor would any of the other big cities. We feed everybody once, twice, or 3 times every day. But these people in their ivory towers have no understanding of the importance of the farmers, the countryside, the community, and everything we bring.
Oh, gosh. Yes, I was at that farmers' protest earlier today. Remember when Keir Starmer said this?
We have been very clear that for working people, we are not going to increase their taxes. So that means we are not increasing income tax, national insurance or VAT.
For working people, we will not be increasing their taxes. Well, he has decided to tax the hardest working people in Britain, hasn't he? Just listen to this 18-year-old lad here who is the very best of British.
I used to be here at 4 o'clock in the morning, going out to do milking cows at 5 o'clock and other duties down there, and then we'd finish 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. That's our normal time, but they could carry on till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. There's no end of day. It's go to work, carry on working, 2 hours sleep, back out to harvest again in summer. So it's never ending.
Up at the crack of dawn, gets a few hours sleep, then he's back out to work again. And now this Labour government has stolen his future. But it goes deeper than that. This is an assault on the British countryside, the rural way of life. And once it's gone, we'll never get it back. The metropolitan Labour lovies, they won't understand this because they think the entire country is just like North London. But this is British culture we're talking about here.
I personally think it's part of our heritage. This has gone on for years and years and years, generation after generation, and it's going to stop because of this. And because a farmer never sells his land, but they'll make them sell it now because the land stays in the family for years, for many years, and they take their profit from working the land. It's just wrong, completely wrong. It's our heritage, as I say.
Labour seem happy for people like Bill Gates and BlackRock to own the countryside.
Well, Bill Gates has got his finger in a lot of pies. You know, he owns half of the farmland in America. He was here just before the budget in number 10. And he's also very involved in so-called health, you know, telling us that we need to stop eating meat and start eating fake meat, okay? And he's also...
Yeah, and many of these farmers can barely make ends meet. I mean, listen to this Labour MP on Politics Live today. Listen to what comes tumbling out of her mouth like a torrent of ignorant diarrhea.
Come from a country or my family come from a country where there are lots of farmers. Quite hard to find a poor farmer.
Well, let me tell her this. She's about to meet several poor farmers. And the farmers I spoke to are considering strike action, so she might not be so snarky then. But with hundreds of tractors outside the House of Commons, well, you know, look at that. Just look at that. What a picture that is. What an image. Thousands of people were there supporting the farmers today. Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, decided to ask this question at the start of PMQs.
Mr. Speaker, last week the Prime Minister didn't seem to want to talk about appointing fraudsters to his cabinet. In fact, he seemed to want to talk about immigration. So let's talk about immigration.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, I obviously quite enjoy talking about immigration regularly on this show, but, I mean, that was an open goal out there, Kemi. What was she thinking? You know, go off on the farmers, all right? And what has our state broadcaster, the BBC, made of this protest? Well, I did a quick scan of their homepage on the news there before I came on air. Well, they haven't really put it on the main homepage of their news site. As far as I can tell, anyway, They don't really seem to care that much. They don't think that's a top story, do they? Well, we care here at GB News, and we care because of stuff like this.
This is a lifetime of work. It's the heritage.
The president of the National Farmers Union there fighting back tears as he talks about this needless farmer death tax. And it is needless because Labour hopes that it will raise around 500 million quid, and they are giving away more than 500 million quid in foreign aid to foreign farmers. I mean, this is the kind of economics that could only be drawn up by someone who allegedly lied on her CV to become Chancellor. If the farmers do decide to strike, Britain will back the farmers over Keir Starmer. That's thoughts on my panel. We've got the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We've got business and activist as well, Adam Brooks, and the journalist and broadcaster, Nina Mishkov. Yeah, Mark, I mean, there's a heck of a lot to go out here, but firstly, do Labour just need to U-turn on this now and get it over with?
Yes, I mean, they have waited so long. I mean, it's always problematic for a government if you U-turn. So sometimes even if you realise you've made a mistake, and I'm not sure that penny's dropped yet, you're loath to U-turn because it's such a loss of credibility. I suspect they will try and find some nuanced way out of this. They'll put it out to consultation. They'll slightly redesign exactly how inheritance tax applies so it doesn't actually apply to any farmer that's actually working in some way. They will be working around the clock to find out if they can insert some new sub-paragraph that renders this fine. At the moment, though, they are treating farmers like fools. I mean, the suggestion is, oh, this is hardly going to affect any of you. So why are these guys turning up in their tractors outside Parliament? I trust the farmers' judgment of whether it's going to affect them. There was a thing that it was reasonable for the government to solve, that the way we treat inheritance tax on farms does mean that there's an attraction for very rich billionaires to buy up farmland, not farm, and pass it on inheritance tax free. We've got to find a way of sorting out that loophole.
Well,
but you can
that.
surely... Yeah, stop that.
Stop that.
But they thought they'd close this off, but they're probably going to end up launching an assault on British heritage, which for 500 million quid, what an idiotic political battle to fight.
This notion as well that, oh, well, the farmers have to pay to fund our NHS.
One day.
What's that, like a day, is it? Right, so we'll raffle off the British countryside to these multinational corporations.
To run the NHS for 24 hours.
To run the NHS for 24 hours.
Look, again, I was there today as well. Good to see you was there.
Yeah.
Now, it angers me that the BBC haven't given this really any airing, because
I watched it on the BBC tonight at 6 o'clock news.
Very, as Patrick said, the website that's seen by millions. It's hardly any.
But the news actually on the telly was there. Okay, but, I watched it on the BBC News.
This is important. There was about 300 or 400 tractors on the roads outside Parliament today. I've never seen anything like it. It was so impressive, and I spoke to farmers, and the anger is off the charts. Look, when people on social media say, oh, why shouldn't the farmers pay inheritance tax? The average Brit, like us, does not contribute to feeding the nation. These put food in our supermarkets, food on our table. It's a generational industry where you can't just learn farming overnight. It's not an industry where if it all went wrong, we can bring the army in and they can sort it. No. It takes years to learn how to farm. These are experts in their field. And
Jeremy Clarkson's done pretty well for himself.
Is doing their
pretty
best
quickly
to ruin that. And I think they've picked a fight they cannot win. And if they decide not to put the food in the supermarket and go on strike, I back them with that.
Does it concern you, Nina, at all that people like Bill Gates and some of these corporations and funds or whatever, like BlackRock, could just buy up vast swathes of the British countryside and serve as goodness knows what tripe?
Well, I think what Keir Starmer has tried to do, and very crudely and badly, is to prevent that happening, to stop wealthy people from using this as a way to sidestep inheritance tax, putting their money into land, and that's who he's tried to grab. And unfortunately, like in fishing, if you put the net out and you want the big tuna, you get the little fish as well. Now he needs to actually fish with a much finer net, if you see what I mean. I think that, first of all, I'd like to say that actually farmers are often stuffed more by the supermarkets than they are by the government. They are pared down to the bone with their profits. And also, my grandfather, my Scottish grandfather, was a farmer. My grandmother won the gold medal for butter making at the Kilmarnock Dairy School in 1920. Yes, there we go. So anyway, I obviously have a feeling for that. I do think that what they will do, and you can't back down, they won't back down. Perhaps they just change the entry level, so they make it 5 million. Now, if they made it 5 million...
That's a U-turn still there, isn't it?
Well, the interesting thing is that you two guys were there today, but it wasn't sponsored by the National Farmers Union, because they are the ones who have to make the...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the president of the NFU, I think, was inside crying about the whole thing.
Yes, but the thing is, the NFU needs to sit down with the government, and they will work something out.
I spoke to a lot of farmers today, and I did want to try to gauge the mood on the potential for a strike. And it was unanimous, really. Which is look, we don't want to, but if it is a choice between that or our very existence, then we'll do it.
Yeah.
And I really wonder if that's around the corner.
Well, it could well be. And to look at the Labour government's behaviour so far, if you go on strike, you get a big pay rise. So the message has been sent out that this is a highly successful way of defending your livelihood. I'd be surprised if they don't do it. Unless Labour can find, it might be that Nina and I are slightly on the same page here, some elegant way to resolve this. But my God, they are taking their time. And I think a strike would force them to do that if they don't come to the table beforehand.
You know, one of the criticisms, Adam, of Keir Starmer and that cohort that he surrounds himself with is that they are actually governing for a very small group of people. They are essentially metropolitan levies.
I think that's exaggeration.
I'm sorry, but OK, fine. But I'll come to you after Adam on this. But I think this policy for me sums that up. These are not people who think about the wider. They think their entire life is Islington.
But what are they going to?
So wrong.
What are they going to do when their favourite coffee shop can't feed them with their favourite sausage?
Yeah.
You know, these people are going to be up in arms about that. But
as soon as you say these people, you're drawing battle lines that don't exist, that really don't exist. The metropolitan elite, for heaven's sake.
But what is Keir Starmer then? Look, I'm sorry, but what is Keir Starmer? What is Rachel Reeves?
Keir Starmer's...
What are these people who very rarely ever seem to venture out of the North London bubble, who make decisions like this, whose entire...
Why do you have to have mud on your shoes to be a real person? That's such a ridiculous... You don't know that they don't go out there.
Most of his time traipsing the corridors of various different courts, representing some fruity characters,
it's just ridiculous.
Nina, the fact that Keir Starmer could not define what a working person was says it all. Look, one thing I do want the viewers to realise, and this was speaking to farmers today, the average salary of a farmer or earnings of a farmer is between 30 and 70 grand a year. These are not the rich elite. These are people that get up at 3 or 4 in the morning, as the young man said, and work their socks off for little gain. Yes, they're asset rich in some cases. They use them assets to feed us.
I mean, the other thing here, right, which you touched on there, Patrick, is I'm going to stand up for a bit of diversity, because there isn't much diversity in the cabinet. They're nearly all from the public sector, backgrounds in law or think tanks or special advisors, and you've obviously got Rachel from complaints as well. And I fear that they don't have a wide enough spread of knowledge of different sectors of society.
Yes, but did the last government?
Well, maybe not. But
absolutely.
Actually, I think the Conservatives did have more of a relationship with the farming community.
They didn't have a relationship with reality, never mind the farming community.
Who around the cabinet table was likely to put their hand up and say, do you realise what this is going to do if you proceed with it? And you need 2 or 3 people around the cabinet table to flag those sort of things.
They are a very new government and they're making mistakes, and this is a mistake.
They need a wider and deeper representation of different sectors around that cabinet table. Nobody's ever run a business who's sitting around the cabinet table, not one of them, and there's hardly any private sector experience apart from Rachel.
But they're not a bunch of money grabbers who are just out to fleece the public.
OK, well, I'm judging this government, not the previous one.
OK,
well, we've got to compare it.
For a government that might at times struggle with the perception that they don't particularly like Britain, now that might be unfair, right? Lots of people say that's unfair. But for a government that struggle with that perception, This isn't a great way to go about it, is it? Having a massive pop at a load of people who, for many people, kind of literally embody Britain.
I would...
You've got the kind of barber jackets on, you're out there farming the land, you're driving your tractors and you're living in the rural British countryside. I mean, stiffing them is not a great...
Owning a barber jacket is not a passport to being a proper British person. That is so ridiculous, Patrick, and
Feeding
you know it.
population makes you a proper person.
I know the value of farmers, and the thing is, the Labour government have made a mistake in this case, and they need to put it right.
Look, they've made a mistake in many cases. They've attacked farmers, pensioners, students, working people. If we knew this before the election, they wouldn't have won.
You know what I think it was something, and we should touch on this, because I know, like, I'm, broadly quite, a fan of Kemi Badenoch. She sat on this sofa. I thought she was good. She did a great interview. Not knocking her. Unfair.
Why not? Why not?
Because I don't want to. I don't. She hasn't really done anything, as far as I could tell so far, for me to really warrant knocking her.
Make lame jokes.
Yeah. Apart from today, I think it was an open goal. You could probably hear that farmers' protest from inside that chamber there in Westminster, and to not go off on it at PMQs, I thought was a massive.
Really,
she was concentrating on writing a bad joke and for Q.
But it's quite the preparation for PMQ. Is quite an art, and you do have to make a decision about what topic you're going to go on. And I have no idea why they picked immigration. Immigration is going to be an issue that she's got to return to again and again and again, and is a bit of a sticky wicket for the Conservatives, given the record of the last Conservative government. But she's got to face it. She can't not talk about immigration. But today, I would have thought it was clear as day
when you've got Nigel Farage, you've got Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe outside amongst the farmers, getting support, going up in the polls. This is a terrible miscalculation.
It was a tactical error.
I think within 6 months, Reform are going to be the second party by a long way.
I was going to say Nigel Farage is a consummate politician, and he will take every chance to push himself forward, whereas Kemi Badenoch hasn't learned that yet. But if we come back to what you call the metropolitan elite, that is absolutely so unfair, and the implication that they don't care for Britain or don't love their country is arrant nonsense. How can you possibly say that? What makes you say that?
You used to want to abolish the monarchy.
Well, who does? Not the entire government doesn't. Maybe one or two. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody in the cabinet who does, but I don't think I've ever heard of that. They don't want to abolish the monarchy.
Nina, is not so much that they necessarily hate Britain or don't love the country.
Patrick said it.
But my fear is more that there are large parts of Britain that they don't understand.
Yes.
That's the problem. It's not necessarily that they're malicious. It's just, as I was saying, it's too narrow a cohort of ideological outlook and background around that cabinet table.
But there was also... But the thing is, any government is made up. You show me a government and a cabinet in the past that was made...
Somebody who's run a business, for example, would be useful to have in the cabinet.
What, like Liz Truss?
Somebody who's run a business, one in the cabinet.
Okay, right. Well, good stuff. Good stuff at the start of this hour.